Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm always ready.
Yeah. You look like a landowner in that shirt.
What's up, guys? I'm Alano.
I'm Khanya. Hi.
Hello. What are we talking about today, baby?
So today, we've got some new people here. You know, they don't know us, where we've been, what we've been through, how we got here, why I'm knocked up. So,
I think I can answer that question for you.
So we're going to fill in some gaps for you. We're going to talk about being an interracial couple in South Africa, also intercultural couple in South Africa, how that's impacted our relationship, how we met, some first dates. You hear what I said? Are you gathering info? Are you going into the archives?
I got you. I'm like, yo, okay, you got to get these right now.
You gotta get these right. So we're going to be doing that. So I think let's start from the beginning. How
did we meet?
do you know me?
How do I know you?
Yeah.
Well, Khanya and I met at film school, like 9 years ago in Cape Town. And I just remember, I remember where you were sitting the first time that I saw you. Okay. And I just remember thinking, damn, that girl's beautiful as hell.
Oh, she's fine as hell.
She's fine as hell. And then I sat down and we started talking. And I was like, oh shit, she's smart, she's funny. She's kind. That's one thing that really always stood out.
Okay.
And I was just very drawn to you, and I just wanted to be around you all the time. And then luckily for us, luckily for me, we had a mutual friend, and that friend sort of made it possible for Khanya and I to get to know each other, because he would always invite me to do stuff, but then he would invite Khanya to do stuff as well, and eventually we became a circle of 3 or 4 friends. And I just saw Khanya all the time, and then from that point on, my game's tight. You know what I'm saying? I worked the magic over a couple of months. No, we were friends.
His game is not tight. And he has said multiple times before that he is a slow burn.
A slow burn.
Do you know how people get attached to you by becoming your friend? Getting to know you, it's game over then.
That's true.
He's such a cool guy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, baby.
That looked like a boob grab.
It
I
was.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, compliment, you get a titty, you get a titty grace.
Because he does it, but when we're in private, he'll just... Anyways. So we were friends, and none of them, besides Cambo, knew Cape Town. Silas is from Kenya, you're from PE. And I had a big circle of friends because I was modeling, and I would, I'd lived there for a few years. So we would often go out together. I would be his wingman. He'd be like, "Yo, hook me up with some models."
Hook me up with some mug.
So,
you're a good wingman.
I am.
You're a good wingman. You wingman yourself into my heart.
And so we were genuinely just friends.
We were really good friends.
And I always highly recommend that date your friends. No, I'm joking. What I mean is that knowing someone as a friend first, where there's no false pretenses, it's literally I'm not pursuing you outside of do we vibe, can we hang? Otherwise, not really. And I think by the time we started
hooking up,
it's stressful because our most dedicated viewer is my mother. If anyone's gonna watch our videos, it's Mom. And she knows way too much about us.
I already titty graced you, Khanya.
I know. Where can we go?
Let's just keep moving forward.
So during that time, there was nothing to hide anymore. There was nothing, you know what I mean? It really is what it is.
I was going to say, by the time you and I started dating, there were no stories to tell.
None.
All the stories were told.
Yeah.
She knew things about me that would take 6 months into a relationship for people to start to
get comfortable enough to really talk about those things.
So
and
I really enjoyed that. And
Me too.
Yeah, and here we are, married.
Yeah.
So that was obviously a good strategy on our part.
Date your friends.
Yeah.
So I want us to move on to a question everyone that meets us, especially online, most asked question is, oh, how's it been being an intercultural couple?
I think for me it's weird because if we start with the families, right? I always thought that the families would be the place where you would get the most sort of blowback, right, or resistance or whatnot. But generally, our families, that's not been the case.
No.
From the very first day that I walked into your mom's house, I said this at the wedding, your mom welcomed me with open arms, and she even hugged me in a way that a family member hugs you, you know?
Yeah.
And like your uncles, I get along with your uncles really great, but I've always gotten along with them. Like there was no
Always.
like hazing period or whatnot. Like always, your sister's boyfriend at the time, now husband,
Yeah.
like nephews, nieces. Like I just vibe with the whole family.
Yeah, it was very easy.
Yeah, it was just so easy
Yeah.
to be accepted like into this family. So I've never really had issues there.
I'd say it's the
And
same
you?
with you, with your family. Very, very welcome. First of all, I've never been, I think I'm a very socially awkward person, even though a lot of people say I'm not. I'm guessing I'm not comfortable, but it's more of an internal struggle than an external one. So I never knew or picked up on the fact that I should be nervous because I'm meeting your parents. So I was like, oh, this is gonna be cool, it's so much fun. And that's kind of the energy I brought. And they were just really chilled, so lovely. Your mom gave me all the compliments, all of them. It was great, actually.
That's who is.
And you never told me anything really about them, so I didn't have any real expectations. So I did what I just thought was fun and cool, and what I'm meeting people, I'm going to someone's house. I usually either bring flowers or a bottle of something. I thought, okay, let me bring a bottle of whiskey because I like whiskey. And I'm maybe we're going to crack some whiskey open. So I bought some whiskey, and it was just fun. It was cute. It was chilled. Afterwards, we get into the car. This man breathes the biggest sigh of relief. It was as if we had just won, like a fight with a bear or something. He goes, whew, I'm glad that went well. And I was like, there was potential that it wouldn't have gone well. I didn't know.
No, because
I
I
don't
just
know.
always like meeting the parents is such like a big step in a relationship, you know. And for me, like I really wanted you to be able to get along with my parents. I wanted my parents to like you from the jump, because then it just makes the whole thing a lot easier, you know.
I was always going to get along with your parents. Like, they are such, and to me, they always have been this way. I say it with great confidence. Very warm, relaxed, welcoming people.
That's true.
With such confidence, I say
Yeah.
that, right? And there was no pressure for me to be anything. It was just casual conversation. I don't think I even dressed up really. I think I was in like shorts and the thing. It was just
Same with your
you
parents
as well.
I
You were just so
wasn't-
casually.
I wanted to go and get dressed up and like just look a bit more presentable, but by the time because I came up from PE to East London, which is about a 3-hour drive, so I was comfortable for that trip. And then I told Khanya, like, let me put on something so that I can meet your mom. And before I could even like do that, I was already like had arms around me and
Yeah.
was being hugged and whatnot. So yeah, it was the same. I mean, for you and my parents, it's like I don't know why I was nervous, but I was like I just really wanted it to go well, you know.
Yeah, and I also clicked with your siblings.
Yeah, no. Shit.
Yeah,
You and my like
those are my
youngest
homies.
brother, you guys clicked like.
No, you know
from the
what?
jump,
I've always had because there's so many of you. There's always an opportunity to get to know someone at a specific time. And I
Yeah.
think in the beginning it might have been your little brother. Then I would say it was more of your older
My elder
sisters.
sister, yeah.
And then your two brothers that are older.
Younger.
Well, one
Yeah,
is close to your age, but
yes.
not and then the other one is a little like way younger actually. So there's always been seasons where I get an opportunity to get even closer, but there's never been a time where I've been uncomfortable or we haven't been able to get along.
Yeah.
And
our families vibe well together as well.
Yeah.
Like the times where we could get both of the families like in the same space has always been like a really dope time, you know.
yeah, I would
Yeah.
say so.
So
and
in
I
terms
think-
of the family, racism hasn't been an issue.
No, I would
It's
say
the
it's
other
the
people.
extended family and friends. There's been racial illiteracy. That's what I would call it. Not racism in any way, but something that they might have not known was racist or racially like, that's actually not okay, might have been said. But even that context was like in a friendly, I'm trying
Yeah,
to show love.
Yeah, it's weird because you and I actually spoke about this. Is like because our families don't know that much about like the other person's
Like
culture
culture
and
and
race.
background, yeah.
They're always asking questions, but sometimes the questions that they ask can be not inappropriate, but a little like, are we really asking that?
Yeah, but I think that's more again extended family and friends. I wouldn't say that that's our immediate family.
No, it's definitely not the immediate family.
No.
What I was gonna say is that the biggest group that actually made our relationship uncomfortable in the beginning are the people that we don't know. Like the total freaking strangers that don't know you from anywhere, but that feel like their opinion is greater than your lived experience.
Yes.
Like that is actually, and in the beginning of our relationship, it was a little bit tough for me because there was just this added element of difficulty added to the relationship when you and I were like, we were trying to figure out like, who is this person? We were trying to figure out like each other's backgrounds, like religious stuff, for instance. Like I came from a very religious family. You tend to not be like religious, right? Then there was like financial things that we were talking about, like you come from a family with like this type of financial situation. I come from a family with this type of financial, and all of these things like gave us this like upbringing that was very different to each other. And we were navigating those waters. On top of the fact is I'm a guy, you're a girl, you're a black girl. I'm a guy that sometimes people think of me as being a white guy. Like sometimes people get so comfortable, like white people get so comfortable they say things in front of me.
Crazy racist things in front of
not
them.
realizing that I am from a different race, right? So there were all these like differences that we were sort of navigating in the beginning of our relationship, and this racial element just made it so much more difficult because you and I are going out on a date, and it's a fun date, and in an instant that date can be ruined.
Oh my gosh, and then a
because of
stranger's
a stranger.
like, oh my god, you're so beautiful
Like-
for a black girl. Or when we're in like Simon's Town, and then they're like, where are you from? And I'm like, South Africa. And they're like,
No, you can't be from South
You're too
Africa."
pretty, or you are too eloquent. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
wildly racist because I'm a black girl. I can't be eloquent,
Yeah.
or I can't be attractive.
Yeah.
That is wildly racist.
And
but
that's
okay.
and that's the bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Because in an instant, bro, a stranger can just come and just fucking just ruin your date, like just like that. Because now you're not getting in the car upset, you know,
Do you remember the one time I took him another one of my favorite spots? It's this nude beach in Cape Town. Was it called Sandy's? I can't remember. So I took him there, and as we're like walking up towards the dunes or whatever, guys, when I tell you, if you weren't looking sharp, you would have missed the human being. They were so far away, but they just come to yell at us about how he's a skinned pig because he's upset because it looks like I'm with
He's
this
dating
white
a
guy.
white guy.
Yeah. So
And I mean, that was such a nice day, right?
Beautiful
We
day.
went on
Oh
a
my
beautiful
gosh.
beach hike.
Yes.
And then literally,
As
after
we
we
were
hiked
leaving.
this big ass
Yeah.
dunes, and we we're getting back to go into the car because the date is over now, this freaking guy
yeah.
just randomly shows up.
But I will say this, the racism in Cape Town, like if you want to experience racism, go to Cape Town. It's crazy there. The service providers in East London can be a bit racially insensitive or racist. Like the one time we were doing another house very close to ours, we were just fixing it up.
Like renovating.
Yeah, like renovating. And the one service provider he wasn't electrical, was he plumbing? Whatever he was, thought Alano was a white guy, and there's some kind of a white guy bromance going on. And then he starts
He hit
saying
me with-
things about, you know, things were better before 94 because at least we had, there were no potholes.
Listen, this man looked me into the eyeballs of my soul and then started the conversation with, I'm not a racist or anything. I was
Oh.
like, oh my God.
Cut the cameras.
Is this what's happening? But you know, it's really funny now that I've noticed as well. And this sort of, sometimes this reminds me, because for me it's easy to forget, but sometimes it reminds me of the privilege that I have because I look a certain way.
Yeah.
So I am a person of color, but I get confused for being like European.
Arab.
Especially in
White,
South Africa.
yeah.
Like for some reason, like, yeah, people don't see me as the race that I am, right? And what I've noticed is that every time that someone has said hurtful or just nasty things to you, when they thought that I was a white guy, the comments have always been either towards you or about you.
Yes.
I'm always like the secondary target. Like it's always you. You're like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like it's either about you or it's towards you. But like what I've realized is that like there are certain privileges that come with just me looking or presenting myself in the way that I am right now, that I'm not even the target of the abuse.
No.
I'm the collateral damage.
You are being CC'd in this email.
yes.
You know, like, yeah.
And
yeah.
it's totally frustrating because like those people are hurting the person that I love the most. But when I think about it, it was like, how must it feel to be you? Because you're the target of it. I'm not like, I'm almost shielded from it in a specific way because I look the way that I do, people aren't trying to come for me.
You know what? And I don't think this is the right video for that. Being a black girl that was raised in white spaces, there's a lot of abuse that I've endured. And then on top of that, the people that are in places that are supposed to take care of me, that are supposed to that I trust, are often the ones that will be the abusers. So it's
or the
the
allowers
teachers.
of the abuse.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's like things like that, and it's very traumatic, but it's not to do with our relationship and our experience being interracial. But to kind of quickly answer your question, there was no time where I was allowed to just be a kid, right? Because I'm a black kid first, because I'm in those white spaces. So I can be having art class, and this happened, and I couldn't have been older than, what's grade 4? 7, 8, 9 or 10 years old?
Yeah.
And I'm having the best time. I didn't know it at the time, but I'm a very creative person. I like writing and painting and that. And then this white girl comes up to me and she goes, "Do you feel left out?" I was like, "Of what?" And she's like, "Because you're black." And the whole class heard it.
That's
The
South
teacher
Africa,
heard
bro.
it. And they said nothing. And I said, "No, why would I be left out because I'm black? We're doing art. What are you talking about?" So there's never been a time when I've been allowed to just be my age, the same way that other people that are not black are allowed to be their age. So I've protected myself enough from it to know that I will never be happy. I will never be able to live my life if I don't pick my battles, because they come at me all the time.
And that's the advice that you gave me,
You will
because in
never
the
be happy.
beginning it was tough, because if I had dated someone that was in my race,
You wouldn't have to
I
confront
would
these
have
issues,
just
yeah.
I would have just been dating that person, and that's it. But when I started dating you, all of a sudden there were these other sectors of life that now came into my life. Like I couldn't just be me and date the girl that I'm dating. Suddenly now I had to stand up for you, but I also had to stand up for black people.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And my friend circle from like America, like I've always had a very diverse friend circle. So like standing up for black people is something that I've done, right? Like I have experience with that. But when you're dating someone, like I just felt like I had to stand up for black people every single time. And
Yes.
it becomes exhausting in the beginning.
And
like
you know
it
what's
actually
worse
becomes quite
is
exhausting.
that now the abuser wants you to convince them that they are abusive. It's exhausting. It's like there is no other victim that has to prove this, right? Where you can punch me and then I have to prove to you that no, you did punch me and what you did was like assault. Or so it's the one thing about racism is going to wear you down.
Yeah.
And that's how they win.
And that's
how they
that's
win.
what
It's
it
gonna
was
wear
for
you down.
us.
It's exhausting.
That's what it was for us in the beginning. Like I'm at a place now where I pick my battles.
You have
like
to.
I
You'll
just
never be
pick my
happy if you
battles, and like a lot of times I think about like this quote that Jay-Z did in like one of his like 90s,
Yes,
early
quoting
2000s songs. But he was like, "What you eat don't make me shit." Sometimes I just think about that.
Yeah.
Like if someone's testing me and I don't have the time right now, I can walk away. But in the beginning of our relationship, because I also felt like I had to prove to you that I was the person who we were when the bedroom door closed, right? Like that intimate person. Like I felt like in the beginning I had to prove that to you, because I'm watching people try to shit on you. Do you know what I mean? And it was difficult because I ended up trying to fight every single battle. And
And I
we were
kept
living in a
telling him-
place, Cape Town,
Cape Town is
where
racist
there
as
was
hell.
going to be a shit ton of battles
It's going to be
fight.
every day.
Yeah.
And I tried to explain to him is that the reason that you have to choose this specific angle is because every single system that we have to plug into to be people is built on the backbone of racism. So whether you are going to a restaurant, the waiters, the manager, the other patrons and stuff, they all have the potential to fuck it up for you because they're racist.
We literally book
If you're
things in
studying-
my name.
Because book it underneath his
Literally,
name.
like if we're gonna go to a city that we've never been to, like a hotel or B&B or
Yes.
whatever, we book it under my name because my name is white sounding.
Yes, and then on top of that, it's like, then it's the teachers, the ones that are supposed to be fair, value education regardless of race or whatever it is. And, now we're fighting our university because they were so racist. And it's like, it's exhausting. We don't get to
my
just be
God,
filmmaker
yo.
students. We don't get
3
to be full
years
students.
of me and Khanya just
Fighting this
battles.
battles.
I think it brought us closer, but like not in a very beautiful way, in a very
No,
fucking traumatic
no,
way.
trauma
actually.
bonding.
Yeah, trauma bonding. So I'm happy that we like don't do that anymore. But if there is anyone looking for advice into dating someone of a different race for the first time, just understand
There's a
that, bro,
responsibility.
you can't fight every single battle, even though deeply inside your heart you feel like you need to stand up and protect this person that you love. You can't possibly fight every
But
single, because you're
also-
going to burn the fuck out.
But also, it's a losing battle, right? I have the experience of being black my whole life.
Yeah.
I'm very literate. I'm very racially woke, literate, everything. You come in, now there's things that are on a deeper level, not the superficial level that everyone else kind of feels like they know. And now you're fighting these people, but you're ill-equipped. They've been racist their whole lives,
Yeah.
Lano. They're going to, like,
Yeah.
wear you out. And you're just
Yeah.
learning. And so, anyways, that's kind of how being in a multicultural, multiracial relationship has been in South Africa. Depending on where we are, there is the potential for racism every day. And I mean going to school or university or restaurant every day and having to face it. It is exhausting. Or you can come to East London and they're not.
And it's just like super chilled.
And they're just not.
Literally, like literally just super chilled. Sorry. Yes, baby.
You feel it, not really.
Yeah, now I can feel it. Because she's doing this thing now where she's not just kicking,
She's
like
somersaulting.
pushing, and then sometimes it feels like she's running up and then flipping herself over.
Somersaulting. I'm a plaything. But yeah, sorry, finish.
Yes, but that's something that I learned through this relationship, because I had to do a lot of conversation about blackness in the South African context, because as a person of color, even though like my heart, my intentions were in the right place, there was a fair amount of education that needed to be done so that I could truly understand, or better understand, like what your lived experience is and how that differs from mine. Like, because you can't just go based off of your own experience, because shit, my experience is so much different from yours.
You know what's
Because the
worse?
way of how people treat me.
You know what's worse? Now you feel like you've gotten to this place, you're older, you're wiser, you can find peace and, things like that. Then we get onto YouTube and my God, it starts again. Now we've got Americans projecting their context as if somehow it applies to our context because he's colored. But what that means in South Africa, actually in Africa, is not what that means in America.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not mixed race, because mixed race means that, maybe an Asian person with a black African person got together and then they had a child. No, generations of people that look
Yeah.
like him. His parents
Like,
are colored, their grandparents are colored.
Yeah,
It's not mixed race.
Look, so if there is anyone out there that's like confused, because I'm going to just make the assumption, probably incorrectly, but I'm going to make the assumption that a lot of the hurtful comments are coming from a place of just like total confusion, okay?
And
That's-
being triggered.
and
I
potentially
think I
also being
understand
triggered,
why our
right?
American audience would be triggered.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just to give you like some context, in South Africa, socially and legally also, Khanya and I aren't considered the same race. So we're both people of color, but we're not the same race.
the same
so
way that Indian people are people of color,
Asian people,
Asian,
like yes.
like that, yes.
So on Kanya's birth certificate, it says black. Like that is legally how the government of South Africa classifies Khanya. On my birth certificate, it says colored. That is legally how the government classifies me, right? Now, a lot of people were saying, but like colored is such an offensive word. Why don't you call yourself mixed race? Okay? And the difference here is Trevor Noah, right? So Trevor Noah is a mixed race person,
Oh, yes.
meaning that Trevor Noah's mom is black and his father is white, right? Black South African, white European. In my instance, that's not really the case. Like, so for argument's sake, let's say that I call myself mixed race, right? Okay. My family tree looks like this. I'm mixed race. My dad is mixed race. My mom is mixed race. All 4 of my grandparents are mixed race, and all 8 of my great-grandparents are mixed race. And of my great-grandparents, which I don't know too well, I think that it's safe to assume that probably half of those is also mixed race, right? And the history of South Africa is essentially that all of the mixed race people or different racial groups in South Africa got forced to live in different areas, right? And over generation and generations, you keep putting all the mixed race people together. Eventually, a commonality forms and a culture forms. And now we have something that is ours, right? Which is very different from Trevor Noah's situation because, like, he's got a black mom and a white dad,
And
but
of
he
course
was
the culture.
raised black,
Yeah.
right? Because he was
Yeah.
raised by his mother, his
Yeah.
culture. So that's why I refer to myself as a colored person, not a mixed race person, because being a colored person, there is an entire culture that's attached to it that makes me different from Trevor, even though like in skin tone, like we might look the same.
Sorry, can
So
I
that's
also-
really like where the difference is. And for us, the term colored isn't a derogatory term. It's actually something that we take a lot of pride in because people threw us together and tried to classify us, and then we built a culture and a unified thing out of it that is ours.
Yeah, there's also
So that's why it's different.
Yeah, and also the colored history is very complex,
Very.
very complex in that it was an attempt to dehumanize, destabilize, and what's this thing called? Divide and conquer
yeah.
people of color. Predominantly black people. So if you were a black person and you were super fair-skinned, for example, the Khoi,
Got thrown into the
and a
into
lot
the
of like
other
Zulu,
group.
Xhosa, whatever, you got put
Yeah.
into this group, and then this group got privileges that people that were darker didn't.
Didn't get.
So now you've got a mix of all of these cultures, and you've got a mix of all of these backgrounds and like experiences being forced to cohabitate and to make it work.
Yeah.
And from that was birthed
Like a
language,
culture that is just
culture,
uniquely
foods,
ours, yes.
Yes, and although it is influenced by Malaysian, African, Indian, whatever it is,
Eastern,
it
yeah.
has now created something new. And when people come onto our comment section, it's so racist, you can't say colored, you are erasing a people. You are being the racist, and you don't even recognize that you're doing it. The same way that some people will try to you still get it today, especially in North Africa. It's a big problem up there where people are trying to separate themselves from being identified as people of color or black because they are lighter in tone, but it is a whole different thing. It was psychological warfare, but from it, something beautiful was birthed, and we have to be able to respect that. It's a whole people. It's a whole it's very complicated.
Yeah. So personally, I see myself as black and I see myself as colored, right? And I know that like racially you can't be black and colored, right? In South Africa, it's either you're black or you're colored or you're mixed race. That's just the way that I see myself because culturally and the history makes me colored. But my lived experience is lived experience of other people of color, of other black people, like
Especially Black American.
Yes, Black Americans
Yeah.
definitely, but even Black South Africans. So
Yes.
like even though I do have a lighter skin tone, and even though I can like slip into specific spaces, it doesn't mean that the communities that I come from aren't underprivileged,
Yes.
aren't resourced,
Under-resourced.
or
Yeah.
jailed at a disproportionate rate of the population. I think like colored men in South Africa make up like 60% of the jails,
Even
but we
though
make up
they make up
4%
4%
of the
population.
population, right? So all of those things are very much still a part of my lived experience, part of
Yes.
my community's lived experience, which is why I see myself as black as well. But I understand if other people don't see that. And because our cultures have differences, there's a lot that we had to learn from each other in order to be able to like be good members of both of the families that we're in.
Yes.
But generally what I found being in a relationship with a black girl is that we are more similar than we are different.
Yeah.
I think it's because the lived experiences are very similar. Like what the apartheid government did to black people here, they did to colored people to a different degree there. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, it's a bit tricky because with the apartheid government, it was very much divide and conquer. So it wasn't necessarily you were black. It was, can you pass the pencil test? Do you look lighter than your parent? Then we'll separate you two. And then that's kind of how they broke down the family systems and all that kind of stuff.
yeah.
So it was more about how you looked, your hair texture, things like that. And then came the label thereafter. Your hair looks silkier, but still a little bit coarse. You will get these privileges. You can work here and there, which is better than the mines or whatever it is, because you look this way, even though technically you've got a black Xhosa background or whatever it might be.
Actually, no.
But that's a whole
Yeah, that's an entirely
Listen,
different conversation.
It's very complex.
That we don't actually like need to navigate like through our day to day and our relationship, but it is something that we've talked a lot about, so that the both of us can be mindful of it, especially because we are now going to raise a child that is actually mixed race.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's weird. Like, I am colored, but my child is going to be mixed race.
Yeah.
Because of because Khanya and I are considered two different races.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Interesting. Interesting.
So, what's next?
No, it was just talking about family and difference in culture, which we naturally did. So I think if you guys have any other questions, I know that the way that we look in our different culture and backgrounds and whatever spark a lot of curiosity in people, and people don't know how to navigate that or ask or things like that, we're not giving you the space here under this video
Ask the
to do
questions,
that,
yeah.
to ask the questions
Yeah.
without it being confrontational and to do all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So, but if you are a racist stranger on the street and you think that I'm going to educate you in the time of our Lord Jesus Google, I'm not doing that. And then, like, if you want to be ignorant and just, you know, let's go at it.
I'm open to having conversations, but I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to have to convince you of anything. If you need convincing, then you probably don't want to have conversations. So that's my stance on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. Bye-bye.
Bye.